Happy fall! I thought I would come on here and talk about the last sewing kit for this fall for 2021. So let's do a little unbagging. So I have included some of my favorites to sew in the fall. You can also wait and sew these in the spring, or sew some in the fall and some in the spring. These do really well here in our zone 7B, 8A. They do great when you sew them around this time up until the first frost. And then they winter over beautifully and pop up early spring, like end of February. They're blooming, and that is just so cool to me because we're coming out of a very cold season and everyone is craving blooms and life. So flowers are a great way to celebrate that. Anyway, so I have included Mountain Mint. Mountain Mint is a native perennial mint. I have recently kind of discovered it in my garden, and I love the way it smells. It has a very sophisticated mint smell. The foliage and blooms are just so beautiful in a bouquet and add beautiful greenery. They're also great for native pollinators, so the bees go crazy over mountain mint. I prefer to sow these indoors if you can. Their seeds are super tiny, so you'll want to take a toothpick and wet the end of it and then use that to grab a seed. Otherwise, you can just like take a pinch of seeds and try to scatter them on a nice fine soil media. So next we have snow peas. Believe it or not, I really enjoy using peas that are vining in floral arrangements. If you decide you want to eat the peas, that's cool too. This particular variety is golden sweet. So, I mean, that color and contrast, plus the curly tendrils in a vase with flowers is just so cool. So again, you want to sow this in fall or spring. Our spring, the tail end of it can get really, really warm really quickly. So that's another reason why I like to do fall plantings. So these, you would just want to plant them about an inch deep and definitely give them something to climb up on. Next we have Chinese forget-me-nots. These are such a beautiful pop of blue. They have the tiniest little flowers, and they're actually a perennial. They self-sow readily, and so you'll probably notice them popping up again the following season if you don't collect those seeds. I grow them as an annual, so I intentionally sow seeds and replant every year, but you could just let them self-sow and go wild. They're actually a very short flower. They're, I would say, 1 to 2 feet tall. They still have a decent stem length on them, but really the color and the dainty flowers are what add some interest to bouquets. And the bees absolutely go crazy over this flower too. You can start this one inside or outside, and it actually does well in either full sun or part shade. And lastly, we have bishop's lace. So this is actually a false Queen Anne's lace. It's not true Queen Anne's lace. The foliage is slightly different, but it looks just about identical. The flower looks identical. And with this one, you want to sew it under soil and not scatter it on top. So just lightly cover it or rake it in. Do this in the fall or spring. It really does winter over well, but it does require full sun. So between all of these, you have quite a range of textures and colors and shapes. We have the white false Queen Anne's lace, the bishop's lace, and it's a disc-like shape that's light and airy. And then we have the Chinese forget-me-nots that have tiny little bright periwinkle blue dainty flowers. And then we have the yellow golden sweet snow pea with curly green tendrils. And lastly, the mountain mint, which adds a very dark green to sage light green color with the foliage. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you'll share how these things are growing in your garden. Be sure to tag us, and I wish you well.